I mean, the EEB, we were established 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago today, to bring together the voices of environmentally concerned citizens from what was then the EEC. So we're a very large network, and we try to bring those voices into the heart of the EU decision-making process here in Brussels, and also to feed back from the EU processes back to our membership.
If everyone lived like we do in Denmark, we would need 4 Earths every year because of the consumption patterns that we have. We need to change that. We need to stop and think about how we can make sure that we, in the future, of course, have the welfare and the wealth and the safety of our citizens that we want, but at the same time that we do it in a sustainable way, that we don't leave the environmental footprint that we do today.
I would say the whole planet is at a crossroad because we are facing multiple crises. We are facing a huge environmental crisis with climate change and overexploitation of natural resources. We are facing social crises with huge levels of inequality and unemployment, and we are facing economic crisis with the problems that many countries have. So this creates a very interesting context for change.
The whole idea and the biggest challenge is to integrate both the environment and the economy. Today we're not talking only about balancing the environment with the economy, but today we're also talking about integrating them, how they can mutually reinforce each other.
Since the 10th of September, when the President-elect Juncker, at that stage President-elect, announced his plans for the new Commission, I think at that point the conference took on an entirely new significance, because in Juncker's plans he basically was setting out a scenario which represents the worst downgrading of environmental policy that we've seen in literally decades.
Well, the new Commission has clearly stated that they will focus on growth and jobs. And I think that's, of course, a logical thing to do coming out of a crisis, unemployment being one of the biggest challenges that we're facing in Europe. But I'm also expecting from the Commission that they will act upon the clear evidence that I think we have, that environmental protection can go hand in hand with economic growth.
What is growth? What is genuine growth? That is not just 1% or 2% materialistic growth. Growth is economic growth, that is social growth, the growth in jobs, that's very, very important in Europe, combined with the environment and the climate challenges that we have. We have to have a much more holistic approach.
We're now in a bad economic cycle with the economic crisis in Europe, so politicians are focusing on jobs, narrow, short-sighted economic aspects, but since those also go hand in hand with environmental protection.
Somebody understood. If you ask people what their priorities are, that is a job, a future for their children, education, but also environment, good air quality, transport, and the combination of all of that. And I do believe that in another policy we need environment is in the center of that policy.
I think Juncker has got it completely wrong with the way he's approaching this, because I think there's a win-win-win for jobs, in sense of society, for the economy and for the environment, if you push for the green economy, which is what we were kind of moving towards in a slow but clumsy way. And this is like a setback. This is like moving back to an agenda from the last century.
The choices that both Europe and the rest of the world make over the next 10 to 20 years will literally influence the way the world will look in 1,000 or 2,000 years. That is something that focuses our minds and also the choices we have to make.
So, combining strong and ambitious domestic policies and strong implementation of those, while at the same time recognizing that the solution of many of these problems is really a global game, and taking the lead there and looking for allies and building coalitions with countries that really want to move this agenda, in my opinion, is the challenge for Europe.
Yes, we are at the crossroad. We need to change our policies. We need to give a future to the people. We need to let them see that Europe does mean that we can make life better for them. And environment is a crucial issue of that.
I think that the big thing in the next, say, 5 years. That would be to have it out of the hands of just environment ministers or climate responsible ministers into the core of the economic thinking.
At the end of the day, we have to realize and we have to admit that the environment is part of the solution and not part of the problem towards economic growth. Please don't forget that we need your constructive support and your voice. From our side, rest assured that there is no intention to weaken any environmental regulations. Thank you very much for listening.
We're actually not here for the interests of our personal interests. We're here for something else, which is the environment, which is the basis for a sustainable economy and for a just society in the future.